Hey, what's up, everyone? This is going to be my final video on why I think this year, 2011, has been the worst year in Ring of Honor history. So, yeah, I know the year is not over yet. I'm still optimistic about, some of the shows that are coming up. But we'll see, though. I just think, so far up to this point, it's definitely been, I just think, my reason for doing this video is I just think things need to change. And I'm very worried that they're going to go downhill. And I definitely think this has been the worst year in the history of the company. Now, the company's had a great history. They have a great back catalog. It's kind of like every single year has pretty much been spectacular, in my opinion. In its own way, I really think each and every year has been pretty much great, but except this year. So yeah, before we get into breaking down all that stuff and WWE as well, I also want to touch on why I think WWE has been the better promotion, superior to Ring of Honor in 2011. I don't think I'm alone on that. I think most people would agree that the WWE has been a better promotion than Ring of Honor. I really think it has. That's not saying that Ring of Honor has been terrible this year. I mean, 2011 they got off. I thought they got off to a great start. But I'm telling you, this the second half of this year is just been. It doesn't really have to do with match quality. It has a lot to do with the overall feel of the promotion. Just like your gut feeling and your enjoyment factor when you watch the shows. I think that has a lot to do with it, and it's just not there. As far as Dragon Gate USA goes, they have a lot of talent, and they have talent that is per. That I think Dragon Gate USA feels more like Ring of Honor than Ring of Honor does right now. In kind of in a way. I mean, obviously it has its flaws. Um, I think when you watch some of those guys, you could definitely tell a lot of those guys were just made to wrestle in Ring of Honor. I really feel like that. The problem with the company is we talked about this before. The buzz isn't there. It's just really tough with the way they try to book the shows and try to fluctuate the Japanese talent with the American talent and try to have everything make sense. It's just really, really tough. But the overall feel and the overall in-ring quality, I definitely think it's there. It's just unfortunate because a lot of those guys are under contract. They can't wrestle for Ring of Honor. The DVDs are expensive. They run these triple shots. You don't really know which show to buy. I think Dragon Gate USA needs to focus on making just one show seem important every 3 months. Nobody's going to want to buy 3 shows in a row. No one really knows which show to buy. So they have a lot of problems as well. But that's not really because of in the ring or promos. That more has to do with the business side of it. But yeah, as far as WWE goes, I just feel like this. You want to nitpick about the negative things. WrestleMania sucked. There's been some crappy things. Triple H fucking up the whole CM Punk storyline, and the building up the Miz and R-Truth for The Rock, and just putting CM Punk on the back burner. There's been a lot of frustrating things in WWE this year. Don't get me wrong. It hasn't been a perfect year. But when you look at the overall roster and the overall feel of the company, I just feel like there's a connection that the fans have with the roster this year that hasn't really been felt in a while. Even watch a pay-per-view like Vengeance, a pretty mediocre show, but at the same time, I felt like that show really, each and every match had a purpose. I feel like everybody really, connected with the fans on that show. I feel like the show accomplished a lot, even though it wasn't really a spectacular wrestling show. And WWE's, they've had some great moments. I'm sorry, man. The whole Punk storyline and the whole summer of Punk, Money in the Bank, all that shit was phenomenal. I mean, WWE hasn't excited us like that for years. It only lasted for a little bit, but I like what they're doing with Punk now. I think he's over as hell. He really, he was on the way out. Everyone thought he was going to leave, and then look at him now. He's on the verge of knocking Cena out, as far as being the top face of the company. So I think a lot has changed. I think they've accomplished a lot this year. Daniel Bryan, the Money in the Bank thing. I'm really interested to see how they're going to push him leading up to WrestleMania. A guy like Dolph Ziggler has gotten better. Even the guys that I really don't care for, like a guy like Zack Ryder. At least like these guys are connecting with the fans, though. Randy Orton and Christian. I thought that was a great feud. I thought Mark Henry shocked the shit out of me this year. I think he's had a great year. I'm interested in his matches. I find even the stuff with the Big Show, it's not great, but it's good though. I really enjoy it though. It's I just find it very entertaining. I think the company, you know, it's not great. A lot of improvements need to be made, but I just feel like overall, it, you just feel a lot more connected to WWE than Ring of Honor right now. And I definitely know I'm not in the minority by saying that. All right, so 2011, like I said, they got off to a great start. You know, the WrestleMania weekend shows were great. The Revolution shows were really good. I feel like Best in the World and the TV show, ever since then, you know, really, you just had this really disgusting, you know, terrible feeling in your stomach about the whole roster. And I think Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin, once they became the tag team champions, I think that had something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, each and every year in Ring of Honor history, I would say was superior to this year. 2002. I mean, you want to knock 2002 because of the one match shows, a lot of filler, a lot of crap. Don't get me wrong, but let's not deny those guys in the main event. Low key, Christopher Daniels, Bryan Danielson, AJ Styles, who was hungry as hell, busting his ass on every show. Those guys set the tone for the greatness that will follow in the coming years. So I still have to say 2002 had, you know, great moments and great promos and great storylines, and you know, every single show had a great match. So I still have to go with 2002 over 2011. 2003 really felt like the old school ECW. It really did. It's the whole the feuds were just insane. You know, the promos that Punk cut were just out of this world. If you're a CM Punk fan, do yourself a favor and go back and watch 2003. Also, Homicide was a totally different person than he is right now. Homicide was just the man back then. Homicide and Steve Corino had one of the best feuds. The storylines were just, you know, that was the one year where, you know, the wrestling probably wasn't that great. I thought they still had some really kick-ass shows wrestling-wise, but overall, you really enjoy that year because of the continuity and the flow of the, you know, the storylines. It just really, you know, you really have more fun watching 2003. I would say more than any other year. So I would say 2003 over 2011. It's close though, match quality wise, it is close, but I got to go with 2003. 2004, there's no comparison. I think 2004 was that's when they really started bringing it in the ring. That's when they went through the whole Robbie Feinstein sex scandal. And you know, they were on the verge of going out of business, and Joe and Punk, you know, saved the company, and you had Austin Aries and Generation Next, you know, set the world on fire. So yeah, 2004, the most underrated year in Ring of Honor history. Then you go to 2005. That's when it really started picking up. You had the whole summer of Punk. You know, Danielson won the belt. Joe versus Kobashi. 2005 was my favorite year in Ring of Honor history. 2006, everyone loves 2006. CZW versus ROH, the whole feud. Kenta coming in. Danielson's title reign, when he took the belt and the prestige up to another level. Nigel McGuinness broke out that year. 2006, enough said. Just an amazing year. You can't compare. 2007, that's when they got on pay-per-view. 2007 is when everyone became a fan. You talk to the average Ring of Honor fan, most likely they probably became a fan in 2007 because the quality and the pay-per-views were just that good. And Briscoes and Steiner Generico, the Ladder War, awesome stuff right there. So yeah, definitely 2007. Now 2008 they started to go downhill a little bit, I would agree, but still 2008 had great depth. I mean, they had so much great wrestling that year, and you had a pretty good storyline with Jimmy Jacobs and Austin Aries, the Age of the Fall stuff. You know, obviously some of the stuff with the Necro Butcher really brought the shows down a lot. The roster was a little stale on the undercard. Brent Albright, Adam Pearce, which was a hit or miss, I would say. They went through a really bad slump, but still, Nigel McGuinness' title reign was insane. You could argue that Nigel was the greatest champion in ROH history, looking back on everything, because he was the total package. He had charisma. Yeah, he fought through injuries and made the belt. He took the belt up even more than Danielson did, and you know, Tyler Black as well. That's when Tyler Black really perfect example of someone that really wasn't a name at the beginning of the year, and by the end of the year, the guy was a star. So yeah, you got to give Sapolsky credit for really building up Black in 2008. 2009, really, they got off to a bad start with Adam Pearce. You know, but looking back on it, I thought Pearce really did a good job. You know, maybe I was a little bit too negative on him. They got off to a really slow start, but I would say that ever since, you know, maybe the 7th anniversary show, Super Card of Honor 4, ever since then, I really think they got hot. You know, in 2009, the overall positivity of Ring of Honor was a lot higher. You know, Austin Aries' title reign was great. You know, there's on YouTube, people were just a little bit more I don't remember any of that negativity about Ring of Honor back then. Everything was really positive. And then 2010, what can I say? It blows 2011 away. I can't even remember what really stands out about 2010. Maybe Tyler Black, David Richards, Death Before Dishonor 8, one of the best shows of all time. But yeah, 2010, really, Christopher Daniels' return was great. I mean, I could go on and on. Steen versus Generico, Final Battle, storylines were pretty much there. So 2010, definitely superior to 2011. But 2011, man, I don't know. It's just, so many dull guys on the roster, which I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of the David Richards and Eddie Edwards storyline. Once again, they're coming into the Hammerstein Ballroom, Final Battle, and they really don't have a good story going into it. I'm sorry, man. This whole Dan DeBee Severance storyline, maybe some people are into it, maybe some people aren't. I don't know. I just think it's really, I just think it's very uncreative. I really think it is, and I feel like Davey's heart isn't in it. You listen to some of his promos, I could tell it sounds like he could give two shits about this, this program with Eddie. I don't know. I just think that they could have done so much more. They had that thing going with Kyle O'Reilly with Eddie holding onto the Achilles lock and really damaging O'Reilly's knee, and Davey getting pissed at him about that. I thought they should have continued that. Instead, they do this wacky thing with Dan DeBee Severn and the whole training situation while Davey's in Japan. Eddie cheats on him and then goes behind his back. It just sounds kind of idiotic, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully, Kevin Steen will get involved in the Final Battle. I hope they do something. They'll do something to really get the fans back and interested again. I definitely have faith in this company. I definitely think they know the pressure is on. And we'll see what happens. So let me know what you guys think. Hope you enjoyed the video. And stay tuned for a lot of great things coming up, man. It's a really fun time with the year-end awards and, match of the year countdowns and Final Battle coming up. So that's pretty much it. All right, take it easy.